tragedy that you can imagine. Parsha Shlach, page 798. Vayedaber Hashem el Moshe lemor, and Hashem spoke to Moshe, and he said, "This ain't funny yet. Give me a moment. Give me a chance. Shlach lecha anoshim, send forth men, if you please, and they will spy out the land of Canaan that I'm giving to the Jewish people. Each man from his father's tribe will send one leader amongst them. And Moshe sent them forth from the wilderness of Paran at Hashem's command, and they were all distinguished men. Head of the children of Israel were they." Take a look at those 4 lines that we just said, and find the most important word in those 4 lines that tell us what this parsha is all about.
Please.
Please is a detail of importance, and that to be noticed, and I'm glad you did, but it's not the most important issue here. And it is. What is the most important word in these 4 lines that will define and designate the story of this parsha?
Spies.
Spies, right. That's the parsha. In Hebrew we call them maraglim. So what does the word maraglim mean? It means people that are walking on their feet, and they obviously are traveling to find out, what the situation is. To spy the land is to check it out, and Hashem tells Moshe, and then of course Brent picks up the idea of "if you please." What's "if you please" stuff? Have you ever heard the word "if you please" in the Torah? God saying, "If you please keep mitzvahs. If you please learn the Torah." Isn't it? If you please is around here. You're either obligated or you're not. There's no. We talked about the 613 mitzvahs. There's no 613 options, right? Or 613 suggestions. There are what you got to do. So this is "if you please" stuff. So that's something that the Brent brings up. We need to look at. But these are the people that are going to spy out the land. But who are they? They are the people that are leaders and distinguished men, but we give them, we'll call them 3 significant titles of honor in these 4 words. What are those 3 significant titles of honor?
No, but in Hebrew it doesn't say please.
Mama?
In Hebrew it doesn't say please.
It says Shlach lecha. Lecha. Mazeh lecha.
Shlach.
Mazeh lecha.
They did.
Mama?
They sent the...
Mazeh lecha. Mazeh lecha.
For you?
Yeah. It's your deal.
Send for you.
Yeah, you, if you please. In other words, the usage of the word lecha does not designate that Hashem is demanding from you. This is your deal.
Because he needs to send it.
Well, if you feel that you need to send him, then shlach lecha. Mama?
They want to send people.
Who wants you to send? Bnei Israel. So Bnei Israel wants Moshe to send maraglim, to send the spies. Okay, that's a good point. I didn't want to look at it. We got a chumash, right? So the Bnei Israel wants Moshe to send them. It's their idea, I guess. But of course, off the top, God says the indication of lecha means it's not necessary. Why is it not necessary?
Because he told them when it was given.
Yes.
You got to check out Eretz Yisrael. Well, let me check it out. Let's see now. First, I'll go there on a pilot trip. I'll figure it out, see if I want to come there, I want to stay there. I'll check out the Mishrat HaPnim, see if they're good to me, if they're not good to me. I'll check out this, I'll check out that. You know? What?
Check if they're ready.
Who's ready?
They said.
So that's not, you don't have to go to Israel to check out if they're ready. The Israel Bnei Israel's here. We're in the desert. You want to check out the Bnei Israel, see if they're ready? Check them out. So that doesn't mean I have to travel over there. What?
There's nothing wrong with the land.
Oh, so that's the problem, of course. Theoretically, there's nothing wrong with the land. If there was something wrong with the land, God would have told you. God wants you to go there to Israel. So what's the point here of him telling you that you should send the spies? But he says it's your deal if you want to send them. So, but they are all distinguished heads, distinguished men, leaders, and heads of the tribes. Then the listing of the names. Take a look at one most important person of all. Actually, we'll find two of them, but take a look at line 3, the next paragraph, verse 8. Who was the leader of Ephraim? Anybody? Hoshea ben Nun. Now, all these the other names are really not important in the end of the day. Each one is a leader of the tribes, and these are not the same leaders that were the leaders back in Parsha Shlach when we made the dedication ceremony of the Mishkan. Nevertheless, they are leaders of sorts. And verse 16, these are the names of the men whom Yeshua sent out to spy the land. Moshe called Hoshea Joshua, Yehoshua. So why does the Torah tell us this? I mean, he changed his name. When do you change name? I mean, when do you ever change a name when you were born with?
You change your mazal,
Right. Let's say if you're sick. Right? A person going through maybe a life or death near crisis, so you change the name, change the mazal. Maybe on this person, maybe on Binyamin, there was a gezerah, decree of death, but his name is now Chaim Binyamin. We had the name Chaim meaning life, and now there's no such decree on Chaim Binyamin, and he'll live. Something like that. Of course, also in great moments in life, let's say at the time of a conversion, a person would make a change. One of the persons that made that change in conversion was the man Yitro. Yitro, you know, his name was Yeter, and he added a vav, made it Yitro. Ruth, as you know, took on the name Ruth because it's spelled 606, and while she was keeping the 7 commandments of the Gentiles, she wanted to become more, she wanted to do more, she wanted to do 613, so she added the name Ruth to indicate the gematria. How much is Ruth? 606. And we all learned that. Right? So Ruth became, that was her name change, so to speak. But the name change, again, is for like you said, Jes Mazal and stuff like that. So why the name change here? And why Moshe? And why Hoshea? Anybody? So we have here this Moshe changing the name of Hoshea for Mazal, and he changes it. Hoshea is spelled Hey Vav Shin Ayin. Add a Yud in front, and you get Yehoshua. But once you add the Yud and the next letter is Hey, you've inserted into his name God. Yud Hey is God. We all learned that, right? Yud Hey is Hashem. That's why we don't do Yud Hey when it comes to the numbers. We use 9 and 6 instead of 10 and 5. So we'll use Ted Vav. So Moshe is giving him a new name that God should protect him and God should give him a special mazal. What's the reason? Huh?
He's going to need it.
He's going to need it. Yeah, so who knows that? Well, wait a second. If he knew that, what's he intimating? He's intimating that what?
Wasn't it like testing?
Who's testing who?
Moses kind of army, or they knew what was going to happen when they came back.
Who knew what was going to happen when? Don't confuse me. I'm easily confused. Moshe changes Hoshea to Yehoshua. May God save you. Yehoshua. Must say Hoshea to be saved. God should save you. So, how does Moshe do it? Why does he do it to Yehoshua? And what's the point of what's the concern here of Moshe Rabbeinu? What's his concern? What's he worried about? Why is he worried here to protect Yehoshua? Oh, so maybe you want to say he knew what was going to happen.
Well, if you have a bunch of people who are nervous enough that they want to spy out the land in the first place.
So why send him?
Isn't he worried about Lashon
What?
Hara?
Right, good. So, but why send them? If there's concern and there's worry, why send them? But I got another problem. Why would you say there's concern about these guys when they are all leaders, distinguished heads? That's what it says right here. They're great men.
He wanted to check the great.
What?
He wanted to check the great people. The great.
Well, why would you check them? I mean, even if you did want to check them, I mean, say, I imagine he did check them. I mean, he just didn't let any Joe Schmo go and leave. He checked out each person, saw their credentials, saw that they were proper and appropriate, and maybe even tested them individually, whatever it is. And he came to the conclusion that he's got concern. Yeah, what?
Maybe this is not Israel checking out the Promised Land. Maybe it's God checking out Israel. Maybe it's an assessment that God
Of the people.
God has in mind an assessment that's about to take place, and Moses wants Joshua to be protected in the context of that assessment.
Okay, but again, that's assuming that in the assessment there's going to be negativity.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you assume that, particularly amongst these men who are great? Each tribe has a leader. Let's call this leader a rabbi. A leader's a rabbi, let's say, okay? I got 12 great, distinguished, leading rabbis who are going to spy out the land. What's the problem?
I think they were worried.
What?
I think Yeshua was the only one who wasn't worried about getting there and leadership and where I am. compared
Well,
to
if Yeshua wasn't, they wanted to do the extra protection for him.
It's also interesting, he doesn't change Caleb's name.
Right, that's another factor. The other man I'd like to point out to your attention, if you look at verse 6, is the man who leads Judah. And his name is Caleb. Caleb ben Yefuneh. Okay. Caleb ben Yefuneh is not protected. Okay. Anyway, we got a bunch of questions. We can't figure them out just yet. Let's work on it. Shall we do that? Let's move. Okay. Moses sends them out to spy the land of Canaan. And he says to them,
Wait, I have a thought. Is it possible that this has anything to do with the dangers lurking in the mountains around them? Because weren't they under threat in Balaam's curse and various other things?
at this point in time, they're pretty much done. In fact, Balaam's curse hasn't even come into the story yet.
That's later.
Balaam's curse is 4 parshas ahead.
Okay.
So, 4. Korach, yeah, about 3 or 4. Okay, so Moses sends him out to spy, and he says to them the following: Go up over here, ascend over here to the south. Wait a second. Ascend here to the south? Did you hear that one? Why don't you like it? What's wrong with ascending to the south?
Because you would think the words go up would mean to the north.
Wouldn't you?
No, but you ascend a mountain, you ascend a hill. A hill could be to the south.
Agreed. But it doesn't say ascend the mountain. It says ascend in the south and climb the mountain.
I think you're just looking for things.
God, forgive me, God. I just don't understand what you're saying here. Now, if we weren't religious, God-fearing people, we'd say, this is a bunch of jokes, and get out. Let's go to, let's go to a bar and have a drink. But we're not going to do that, are we? We're going to figure out what this is all about, because we know that this is God's word, and we know it's the truth. We're going to figure out what message He's given us here. What depth is lurking in this? What do you say?
Wasn't it because they were outside Eretz Israel, so they have to ascend to Eretz Israel?
He's got a good point there. Listen to what David has to say. Wherever you are in Eretz Israel, the moment you move there, or move towards Eretz Israel, what's it called in Hebrew? Aliyah. What's Aliyah mean? Everybody knows that Eretz Yisrael is the highest land in the world in terms of spirituality, holiness, and greatness. Wherever you are in the world, you want to go move to a higher spot. The place is Israel. So that's why ascend is there. That's well said, David. Ascend, even you're going to the south. Because in fact, they were in the desert, right? And they were to the south of Eretz Yisrael, let's say. So, even ascending to Eretz Yisrael, from wherever direction you're coming, you're going up. You're going up. Now you're going up to Eretz Yisrael to the south of Eretz Yisrael. That means, of course, once you get into Eretz Yisrael, you can go south, north, west, east, and there, of course, the only time you're going up further is if you're going on to Jerusalem. And the only time you're going any higher than that is if you're going on to the Mount Moriah, Harabayim. Okay, but basically, that's the message. And David's pinpointed that. Anytime you go into Eretz Yisrael, you're making Aliyah. Okay. So, he tells them the following. Verse 18. See the land, how it is. How is it? And let me know about the people that dwells in it. Are they strong or are they weak? Is it few or numerous? And how is the land in which it dwells? Good or bad? The cities, are they open or are they fortified? And the land, is it fertile or is it lean? How about there? Are there trees there or not? Strengthen yourselves, take for the fruit of the land. The days were the seasons of those days, that by the way were the season of the first ripe grapes. So let's understand again, see the questions Moshe asked him. Why would Moshe ask about the land? Once again, Hashem promised us a beautiful land. What's your problem? You need to check out the land? And the people that dwells in it, well, we know our job. Our job is to go in there and offer them three alternatives. What are the three alternatives? Very reasonable alternatives. Get out, become slaves, or we'll kill you. That's very reasonable, isn't it? Because it's our land. We are promised that land from Hashem. And therefore, we have to maintain the control of that land. There cannot be foreign worship or foreign intervention in the land. The land is holy and set aside for the Jewish people. That's why it's called Eretz Yisrael, Eretz Israel, the land of Israel, of the Jewish people. Okay, so the question is, what are we checking out here with these people? Are they strong or weak? In other words, are we going to have to really fight? Or are we going to have to, or is it going to be easy? Okay, I guess that's reasonable. Are they few or numerous? Is it going to be a large battle, a short battle? And the land in which it dwells, is it good or is it bad? How can you say such a thing about Eretz Yisrael? Is it good or bad? And the cities, are they open or fortified? If they're open, obviously it's going to be an easier battle. If it's fortified, it's going to be tougher. How's the land? Is it fertile or lean? The land of Eretz Yisrael, supposedly, I'm sure it's fertile. Are there trees or not? Moshe, what are you looking for here? So they ascended in verse 21 and spied out the land and went to the wilderness of Tzin at the expense of the approach to Hamat. They ascended in the south, once again, 22. Once again, they're going up to Eretz Yisrael. And he arrived in Hebron. What's the problem, folks? What's the problem? Tell me. Don't you see it? Look at it. Read it. Does that make sense to you? They ascended in the south, verse 22, and he arrived in Hebron. Adriana, what's wrong? What's the problem?
You tell me.
You want me to tell you? I'm getting paid.
Who is he?
No, it doesn't work that way. You got to work around it. You got to figure things out. Take a look. They ascended in the south, and he arrived at Hebron. That makes no sense. They ascended, and he arrived. It should be they, or he. Well, frankly, it should be they, not he. Because there's 12 of them.
Unless there's a separation.
Only one guy ended up in Hebron.
They went there,
So-
he went there.
Right, something like that. That's probably what happened. In other words, they ascended to the south, and he digressed. Probably somewhere towards the east. Hebron is somewhere towards the southeast. So he moved towards the east, and he, of course, we know is Kalev. The reason we know he's Kalev, I could tell you, or we could figure it out, which would be more fun. Let's figure it out. Okay, I won't tell you how I know it's Kalev. And there was Achiman and Sheshai and Talmai, the offspring of the giants. Hebron had been built 7 years before Tzoan of Egypt, and they arrived in the valley of Eshcol, cut there of the vine and the cluster of the grapes, and brought out of the pole and of the pomegranates and of the figs, all the beautiful fruits of Eretz Yisrael. They named the place the valley of Eshcol, because Eshcol means the cluster of grapes. Okay, they returned from spying out the land at the end of 40 days.
Rabbi, do we know it's Caleb because of what he later demands or requests?
Well, he later says.
Yeah, he later said.
That's how it's figured out. Right. They returned from spying the land, and they went and they came. Wait a second, 26. I've got a problem. They went and came to Moshe and Aaron. Is that a problem? What's the problem, Jess?
Well, if we only had a he, then what's they something?
No. The he is a digression. The he is the problem, not they. Okay, so we figured out, I gave you the answer much to he, and we're going to see why in just a minute, how that works and what he did and why he did it. I told you it was Kalev. The point is that they're all theys. We're dealing with 12 people, not 1, 12. These 12 people went and came to Moshe and to Aaron. I got a problem with that. What's the problem?
They went and they came.
What's the problem with that?
How can you go and come at the same time?
How can you went and come?
First they left Israel, then they came to him.
So what does the word went mean? In Hebrew, vayelchu, vayavo.
Yelchu, like they walked, but they left.
They left where?
Israel.
And they vayavo.
So first they
Right.
had to leave Israel.
Right. But the problem with that is this. The problem with that is that if you're saying they're leaving Israel to come back to Moshe Rabbeinu, then it's obvious that if you say vayavo, that they left. I mean, they couldn't get to Moshe Rabbeinu until they left Israel. So you can't say vayelchu vayavo shnehem. You understand? If I'm here and I'm going there, it's not as if to say, I went from here and went to there. You don't have to say that. Just simply say, I went there.
So in other
I
words,
came there.
Because it already says they returned.
In other words, right. So therefore, there's no point in saying vayelchu they left. What says they left and they came? What's the message here? The message here is really very, very weird and strange. Hi. The idea is that if they went, if they came back, then obviously they went from Israel.
Well, they went to go back.
Yeah, but why? Why do I have to say that? It's a miyutar.
They went, the person went of going.
Going where?
They went to Israel.
So he says a little differently than you. He doesn't say they went from Israel. He's saying they were to Moshe. He's saying they went to Israel and then Vayavo came back. That makes more sense.
No, it doesn't, because it's already said they've returned. The verse.
I understand that. So I understand. So let's try it again. Vayelchu vayavo. They halchu uba'u. They went and they came back. So if you want to tell me that they went to Israel and then they came back from Israel, even though that makes some sense, it's still a problem. What's the problem?
Because they've already returned.
Which means what?
They're back. They're not.
Which means what? They went already. They went already. I mean, I know that they went from back here. Back here it said that Moshe sent them, and he said how good it is. And it said, take a look at 801 verse 21. They ascended and spied out the land. They went. They did it.
And you sent them again.
Pamay?
Maybe they came back the same
It says here they went for 40 days.
The same way they went, that's the way they came back.
Which is what? They're in the same path.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not necessarily just the same path, the same.
The same mindset. So let's see. So what's the Torah telling us? Remember that the word vayelchu they went to go is miyutar. It is extra. There's no need for the word they went. We know they went. We know they went to Israel. We know they went back to Israel. We know that. The thing that the Torah has to tell us is, Vayavo, they came. They arrived. We know they went to Israel. I mean, it just said, Moshe told them what to do. Moshe told them to send them out, and 40 days, and they spied it, and blah, 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 and then they came back. So instead of saying, and it says in 25, what does it say in 25? It says, they returned already. So they're already back in Israel, back in the camp, back to Moshe, back to the people, and they should have said right after that in verse 26, they came to Moses. They came to Moshe and Aaron. That's what they should have said. And it doesn't say that. What does it say? Huh? Oh, you want to say they went to the public? They went to the public and then they came to Moshe and Aaron. That's an interesting thought. It's incorrect, but it's an interesting thought. It's an interesting thought. The reason that it's probably incorrect is because they probably would not be able to address the public without having approached Moshe and Aaron first. They're the leaders. And he was the one that dispatched them. So they have really, they have no real obligation or even allegiance to the people at all. Their job is to do what their boss told them to do. Who's their boss? Moshe and Aaron. So Moshe and Aaron tell them, go here, they come back and report. Then they weren't sent to report back to Israel, they were sent to report back to Moshe Rabbeinu, who will then tell Israel what to do. So the word Vayelchu that they went is miyutar. It's extra. And as students who learn the Torah and believe in the Torah's truth, we get all bent out of shape when there's an extra word. Because the Torah is the handiwork of God. Every word is here to teach us something. So, someone said about the mindset. Who said about the mindset? Right, the mind, yeah, what?
I'm saying that they were reviewing in their mind about going back. What did we...
Well, right, okay. There's a mind game going on here, no doubt about it. They went and they came back as the concept, the rabbis who want to learn this, and Rashi learns it as well, that they came back in the same way they went. They went and they came means that nothing's changed with, you could say the path, but that might not teach the whole lot, like big deal. So they chose to, instead of choosing a different path back, they chose the same path back, big deal. But they came back with the same perspective. That's what it is. In other words, they didn't change their mind or attitude much. That's what we want to say. So let's go further. So they came back, and then they spoke to Moshe and Aaron. Take a look, Trisha, and the entire assembly of Israel. In other words, afterwards they spoke to the rest of the people. You see that? And they were at the wilderness in Paran and Kadesh, and brought the report back to them being Moshe and Aaron, and the entire assembly being everybody else. Okay. And they showed them the fruit of the land. What's the purpose of showing them the fruit of the land? Anybody? What's the purpose of showing them the fruit of the land?
That they went.
The beauty of Israel. Oh, they came back, what? What? Evidence that they made the trip. Okay. But I think the evidence is also positive. Let's put it that way. They're coming back with beautiful fruits. They're not coming back with all sorts of problems. They're coming back and showing them the beauty of the fruits. They reported and said, take a look at the report. 27. Exactly what they're supposed to do. We arrived at the land to which you sent us. They're speaking to who? Obviously, Trisha, to Moshe, right? And indeed, it flows with milk and honey. And there's this fruit, page 803 on the top. Yes, it's a great place. And then, the most tragic word that you ever heard in your life. The first word in 28 is, but. Oh, the proverbial but. The idea that there's a little more to the report, Don't get too carried away. The people that dwell in the land are powerful, and the cities are fortified and great. And we also saw the offspring of the giant. Now, of course, you read it. You don't read it with all my tunes and chanting. If you hear my chanting, you know something's wrong here. Yeah, that's why every movie has a little music to it, you know, a little theme. When it gets to be a great battle, and when it's soft and romantic, this here is a problem. They're powerful and fortified and great and giant. Oy. That doesn't sound good. And if we read it without my tune, it still wouldn't sound good anyway. Amalek dwells in the south. The Hittite, the Jebusite, and the Amorite dwell on the mountain. Canaanite, the Canaanim dwell by the sea and on the bank of the Jordan. So Kalev steps up and silences the people, and he shuts them up. Obviously, Kalev is silencing them towards Moshe. All of a sudden, we're finding here that there are sides. We're finding here that there is the maraglim here with their report, which sounds pretty negative, and the people must have started murmuring, maybe yelling, maybe crying, who knows? But Kalev silences them towards Moshe. I mean, how do you silence someone towards someone? You silence them by saying, listen to him. In other words, don't listen to those guys, listen to Moshe. And he said, we shall surely ascend and conquer, for we can surely do it. So now you have, obviously, when Kalev comes up with this, we can surely do it, it's to indicate that the people before him who had said all this giant stuff and all this great stuff and fortified stuff were saying, were intimating or implying that what? Well, we can't do it. We can't do it. And Kalev says, I know what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. And let me tell you, we can do this. Now comes the worst part. 31. The men who ascended with him said, we cannot. They're too strong. And in so doing, they brought forth to the children of Israel an evil report on the land that they had spied out. What is an evil report? In Hebrew, it's called dibah ra'ah. What's it, dibah?
Call. The call.
Liba.
It says dibah. Yeah, it's lashon hara. No, sorry, dibah. Dibah ra'ah. It says dibat haaretz. Sorry. So dibah means lashon hara. That's a right. And they sport and they said an evil report. But wait a second. They did find the cities powerful. They didn't lie. And they were told to look at the cities and see what it's like. They did say they were great and they looked like giants. But in fact, they probably did. And they were told to bring back this report back. So, if they wanted to say something that was evil about the situation, they would say, there's an evil part of the situation here. But if they say evil report, it means to suggest we are reporting back evil, and we are being evil and reporting it back. We're not reporting the facts. In other words, we reported the facts, but once again we reported them with all that dramatic music. Had we not done the dramatic music, and the evil report would not have been evil, it would have been a report. Listen, this is the report. Here's what it is. Big, giant, strong, fortified, whatever. But it's not a report it's not inherently evil. It's inherently factual. Yes, there are problems. Yes, it's negative. You want me to tell you it's good when it's not? If I bring you tell me to say, I gotta tell me, should I invest in this stock or not? Or should I take this job with this fellow or not? So I come back to you and I say, I think the guy's a hothead. I think he's hot-tempered. I think he's going to mistreat you. I don't think you should do your job. So the point is that my report is not evil, it's factual. The fact that the report contains negativity in it doesn't make it evil. It means it's just bad. It's not good. Evil means as if I have an intention to hurt you or just to say bad. I just want to say bad, you know. I don't want to say. I just need the facts. The facts are the facts. I would not suggest that you invest in this company. I think it's going down the tubes. From all my research and everything, you'd be crazy to throw your money.
But that's your point of view.
What?
But that's your point of view.
Right. Okay, I admit it. So therefore, that's not evil. It's my point of view. But yet it's called evil here. That's a problem. Why is it called evil?
Because Hashem told them to do it. Hashem said it's go ahead, this night, yes.
Right. But I got to tell you the facts. The facts are, listen, you're asking me, should I go to Israel now? So I tell you, you want to know the truth? Let me tell you the truth.
But they said you can't.
Let me tell you the truth. In Israel, the tax rate is 5 times what it is in America. You understand? You took the same job in America and Israel, you're going to starve. I'm not saying bad about Israel. I'm just telling you the facts. It's my point of view. But it's not an evil report. I'm not doing anything evil by reporting. You see, the question is the report containing evil, or is my reporting it evil? The answer should be neither. I report on the facts.
But it's how they characterize.
I know, they sang it like I sang it. Powerful, giant, oi, oi, oi.
No, it's because they said, it's because right after the Torah says they ascended, they then say a lie, which is we cannot ascend.
Wow, where they say that? I didn't see that.
Verse 31 says, but the men who ascended with him said, we cannot ascend.
Wait a second, that's later on when they got back. Now you're upset with the fact that they said they cannot ascend. Why are you upset with that?
No, I'm upset. What I'm saying is that what makes a report evil is that they frame the facts with this preceding statement, which is we can't do it.
Okay, so let me you're saying very well. Let me say it. Let me concretize it.
Okay.
If you ask me, should I take this job or not? So my response to you is the facts. But I have no right to jump to a conclusion and tell you what to do. That's already evil. The job is this, that. You want to take it, it's your business, not take it, don't take it. I can't tell you what to do. If I come to a conclusion, and I jump to a conclusion, and I come to a judgment, that already shows me some of my evil intent, or shows you my evil intent. I got an agenda here. And you know what my agenda is? I don't want you to take the job. You know why? Because I got someone else who wants to take the job instead.
It's like a leading, like a leading statement.
It's a leading statement. But the point is I like to express it in this fashion, and allow me this point. It's called making a judgment call or a conclusion. Your report can't do that, to be honest. You're going to ask me, should I...
Be neutral.
Yeah, I am right. In other words, today we have the problem that everybody knows that the news is unfactual, tainted, and totally dishonest. You want to turn on CNN, you get that. You turn on Fox, you get the exact opposite. What's the truth? Where's the truth? Nobody's telling you the truth. Everybody's telling you what they want you to hear. Their perspective. And they're not being honest. There's no facts here. I want facts. You're right. When they tell you we cannot ascend, that's not a fact. That's what? Their opinion.
They're biased.
So CNN, shut up. I don't want to hear your stuff. I can't say Fox, Jess will get upset. But the fact is that I can tell them that, listen, this is stupid reporting. This is unfair reporting. This is dishonest reporting. Tell me the facts. I'm going to draw my own conclusions. Don't tell me how bad Trump is. Just tell me what he did, and I'll decide yes, no. Don't tell me how bad Hillary is. Just tell me the facts and say yes, no. But when you start to play with people's minds, and you try to get them to think this or think that, That's already an evil report. And we call that evil report in simple Hebrew, Lashon Hara. Real simple, real basic, and real forbidden and prohibited. So, in any event, as we continue to move forward over here, that's why it's called an evil report. Take a look at 31. We cannot ascend, you say, right? Is that right, Josh? Mm-hmm. Look at 32. The Torah then calls it an evil report. An evil report means what? Means that this was an evil thing to do. That's not the report that should have been given. So that's Lashon Hara. They violated the crime. No question about it. Who did they say Lashon Hara against? The land. I guess you could say they also spoke Lashon Hara against Hashem, because Hashem promised the land. But clearly, it's against Eretz Yisrael. The land, let's read further 32. The land which we have passed to spy it out is a land that devours its inhabitants. That's a pretty nasty thing to say. That's if to say, you really can't live there. I mean, it's just not inhabitable. You just can't make it over there. I mean, they'll eat you up, and the people eat you up. The land will eat you up. The land can't support itself. The land can't support you. It's just not a good place to go. I mean, it's real negative reporting. And all the people that we saw in it were huge. Probably saw a few Kareem Abdul-Jabbars, right? Maybe they saw, who did they see over there? They saw Brent over there, Brent the tall guy. They saw big guys. They said, whoa, how's the weather up there? I mean, these are big guys. There we saw the Nephilim, the sons of the giants. From the Nephilim, we were like grasshoppers in our eyes, and so we were in their eyes. How do you understand that last verse? What?
This one was the lie in hell.
The lie is where? By the giants?
Yeah.
I'm sure these guys were big. I don't think it's a lie. I think these guys were big. At least as big as Brent, maybe bigger. I'm sure these guys were big. But look at the last part. We were like grasshoppers. You know what a grasshopper is? You ever see a grasshopper? Right down there, right? We were like grasshoppers in our eyes, and so we were in their eyes. What's the problem with that?
We diminished ourselves.
What?
We diminished ourselves.
We diminished ourselves. You hear that? Right. You hear that? In other words, it should have said we're like grasshoppers in their eyes, right? Because they're so big and we're so little, right? It doesn't say that. It says we're like grasshoppers in our own eyes. And so we were in theirs too. Obviously we were in theirs because we're pretty small. But why are we grasshoppers in our own eyes? Because we have no confidence. We really have a real low self-esteem. We really are. I mean, we really just, we just felt really, really small.
Well, I get back to what you were saying about the perspective not changing. The journey that they went on did not modify the perspective. And the perspective is informed by their slave,
So let's
history.
Okay, so let's talk about that in terms of going back to page 799. Says Hashem to Moses, send forth these people if you please. Now, we all admitted that these were great men. And all of a sudden in 16, Moshe's got concerns about these great rabbis. How do you prove that he has concern? Because why? What did he do in 16 that showed his concern, show his worry? What did he do? He changed Joshua's name. He changed it from Moshe to Yoshua to protect him. God should save him. Protect him or save him from what? From what? Oh, so that means he had anticipation already. So the question is, if he had it, why did he send them out when it wasn't even an obligation to send it out? It says, send if you please. So Moshe should have said, he should have went around, picked these guys, sized them up, tested them, and when he saw concerns, little concerns here and there, he should have aborted the whole trip and said, forget this.
Or changed everybody's name.
Okay, so let's address Josh's question. Why did he change everybody's name? And the answer is because he didn't change Kalev's. All of a sudden, we learned here that Kalev is a stand-up guy. Right now, Joshua's not the stand-up guy. Who's the stand-up guy? Kalev, isn't that right? Kalev silences the people towards Moshe, not Yehoshua. And yet Yehoshua got the special blessing from Moshe that Kalev did not. But wait a second. Who was that singular he that went to Hebron? We said it was Kalev. Why? Because we have to say the following. We have to say as follows. That only a Rebbe or a parent can bless and help a student of his. My child is my child. I love my child. Therefore, I can bless my child, and the blessing will work because of my connection, my empathy, my feelings for my child. A Rebbe is like a parent to his child. Everybody knows from before that Yehoshua has been Moshe's disciple ever since. Since day one, as they've been traveling out of Egypt, Yehoshua has been the singular, most loyal, devoted disciple of Moshe Rabbeinu. And we're all disciples of him, but he was a real disciple. He was a real Talmud. So there was a connection there. Then you can exploit that connection and use it for good. I give you a blessing, my son. Parents bless their children every Friday night at the table. Is that not so? Rebbes can do the same. A Rebbe can give you a bracha. So my wife was, we had our first 4 children, so we had 3 girls and a boy. My Rebbe, Weinberg, came to visit, and my wife was pregnant. So he said, Tzvi, you have 3 girls and a boy. Even up the score. That's what he said. So I was for sure that we were going to have twin boys. I was convinced. All of a sudden we go to the hospital, the baby's born. Is there another? No, that's it. Only one baby? What's going on here? Well, he brought the score closer. The girls are still in the lead 3-2, you know, but he brought the score a little closer. But that was, maybe the Rebbe's bracha didn't fulfill itself completely. It was just partial bracha. Not bad. Rebbe's pretty good at it, you know. Got a boy instead of a girl. If it was another girl, I would have ran for the hills, but no. I can't handle too many of them. But okay. But it was a boy. But in years later, when our children started to have children and we had grandchildren, it was this little boy, Dovi, my youngest son, who brought forth 4 boys and even the score amongst the grandchildren. And that's the God's honest truth. And that's the Rebbe's bracha. Now understand, what's this relationship between Moshe and Yehoshua? Take a look over here in Parshas, in page 400 and 500 and 499. Okay, and we'll go back to 497. Moshe Rabbeinu descends from Mount Sinai, and Moshe turned bottom of the page 497:15, right? Vayifen Moshe vayered Moshe min ahar. Moshe comes down from the mountain. Usnei luchot ha'edut biyodo. He's got the 2 tablets in his hands, right? The tablets inscribed on both sides were inscribed on one side and the other. The tablets were God's handiwork, and the script was the script of God. Everyone believes in the 10 commandments, the 10 statements on the 2 tablets, right? Verse 17, 499. Verse 17. Joshua heard the sound of the people that had shouting, and he said to Moses, the sound of battle is in the camp. What is he saying? First of all, where did he come into the picture here? Wait. So what we learn from this is that when the elders accompanied Moshe to the mountain, right? Every step or so, a few elders stepped back. So Moshe went to the mountain with just a few leaders, and then he went up to the mountain. Now he was in the mountain how long, folks? 40 days. Okay. So he's up there 40 days, 40 nights, right? And the people went back to their lives, right? Yoshua stayed at the foot of the mountain. He would not leave his Rebbe until his Rebbe came down. Now Moshe was waiting 40 days. How many people waited to wait 40 days for their Rebbe? 40 days. Now, he comes down, and there's Yeshua telling him, we got problems. We got a golden calf. We got this, we got that. We got a lot of issues here. So Joshua says to him, Yeshua says, the sound of battle is in the camp. So Moshe responds, it's not a sound, shouting, not strength, not weakness, it's a distress. It's a lot of problems. And of course, he comes down, as we all know, he broke the tablets, right? Now, take a look a little further at we all know, by the way, that Moshe Rabbeinu, that they did this because they had the 6-hour delay. Remember that 6-hour delay that there was? And then they waited for him for 40 days, and then they miscalculated, and they said the Satan miscalculated the clock, and it was Boshesh, it was 6 hours later that he came, and Yeshua didn't stop in his belief, the truth, Moshe's going to come, but the other people got nervous and sort of said, 6 hours, we can't wait any further, let's build a golden calf. Okay.
Why is the name related to Yoshua?
Exactly.
So we understand from here a very interesting thing. The Torah has a ruling called Ein Mukdamu Mu'ucha B'Torah. There's no chronology in the Torah. Even though the Torah sounds like a chronological story, oftentimes the Torah will specifically go out of its way not to show chronology. So that, and it'll put the Mu'ucha B'Fnei Mukdam. Why would it do that? In order to show you this is not a storybook, this is a lesson book, this is a Torah, this is for teaching, this is for learning, this is for knowing what to do, how to live. This is a book of life, instructions. Torah means lahorot. What does lahorot mean? To instruct. So therefore the Torah will do that often. And that's what it does here. It's showing you what's going to become later on. His name at the time is not Yehoshua, it's Hosea. But in the report of the Torah, as Hashem told Moshe to write it with his future name. Why? Because this will teach this Torah is not a storybook. You get it? Okay. Take now to the, go back to the bottom of 503. Okay? Moshe took the tent, pitched it outside the camp, called it the tent of meeting. Further, it was that whoever sought Hashem would go out of the tent of meeting, which was outside the camp. If you want to dvar Hashem, you want to dvar Torah, you want to Shiloh, you have a Shalom Halacha, you want to know what to do, what's the answer? What you do is you go out of your way and travel if you have to outside the camp till you find the tent where Moshe Rabbeinu is, there he'll teach you. Fine. Whenever Moshe would go out to the tent, verse 8, the people would stand up and remain standing. And everyone at the entrance of the tent would gaze after Moshe arrived at the tent. Verse 9 with me, stay with me. And Moshe arrived at the tent, there was a pillar of cloud. And they stood at the entrance of the tent, and the pillar would speak to Moshe. That's Panim Hashem himself speaking to Moshe. The entire people would see the pillar standing at the entrance of the tent, and the people would rise and prostrate themselves and bow down. Everyone at the entrance of the tent, because they all know that Hashem was there. Further, Hashem would speak to Moshe his face to face. This big quote. This is very big. Hashem spoke to Moshe face to face, panim al panim, as a man would speak with his fellow. That's how close Moshe Rabbeinu was. Then he would return to the camp. His servant Yoshua, the lad, would not depart from the tent. What does it mean? The lad would not depart from the tent. It means that Yoshua was an ever-devoted Talmud. The tent is the tent of Torah, the same tent that Yaakov sat in for 14 years of learning. Yoshua was a continued and totally devoted Talmud disciple, student of Moshe Rabbeinu. There's this connection that's powerful between the two. It's like an umbilical cord, if you will. They really are connected. So therefore Moshe has the right to give a blessing to Yeshua. But he can't give it to Kalev. He doesn't have that relationship with Kalev. So Kalev, on his own, goes out and says, we got a problem here. So he says, I got to protect myself. So he goes to Hebron, also to get a bracha. From whom? Who's in Hebron? Who sleeps in Hebron? Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Sarah, Rachel, Rivka, and Leah. Sorry, Rachel is somewhere else. Shlach, I beg your pardon. But the point is that what? That if you don't have a personal Rebbe, which is kind of sad, nevertheless, you do have, as a Jew, you have the ancestry of fathers whom you can call upon. And I've said this many times. There is a merit of ancestry. We call it zchut avot. Sometimes you see, I saw it my own life. I was a student in the yeshiva, and so many students excelled higher than I, and still are excelling higher than I, and so forth. I often wondered why Hashem chose me or gave me the opportunity to continue to teach Torah. I should have gotten out and got a job. I mean, what am I doing here? I'm convinced it was the blessing of my grandfather. There's no question in my mind. My grandfather was alive until after my bar mitzvah. He passed away after my bar mitzvah. But between the ages of 6 and 13, those 7 years were a closeness between myself and my grandfather that I could not explain to you. Every single Shabbat, Friday night I ate at home, of course. Shabbat lunch I never ate at home. Shabbat lunch I went to my grandfather. I walked to the synagogue where he prayed, and I prayed next to him, and he would take me home. And I would spend the day. And I'm convinced that he was there for me. So you have to understand that if, let's say, you don't have such a grandfather, in essence you do. Who do you have? Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Everybody does. Every Jew has. Therefore, to go to Hebron is a powerful experience in connecting with our ancestry. And that protected Caleb. But let's understand something now. We got major problems here. We got a problem that Moshe Rabbeinu is concerned about these rabbis and these leaders that he prays for Yoshua. Caleb himself has got concerns and problems. Long before these people return with the evil report, everybody's got problems. And Caleb seeks his own protection. What's an interesting thing is, if you turn back to our Parsha, you will see something very phenomenal. Take a look at 803, where it says, verse 30, Caleb silenced the people towards Moshe. The 5th line, verse 30. Caleb silences the people. They're all murmuring and wondering and concerned and worried. These people are the giants, and then they're frightened and they're fortified and they're great. And I imagine people are all, oh my God, what are we going to do? Blah, 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 right? And Caleb silences them towards Moshe. Meaning that don't worry, don't listen to these guys, listen to Moshe. Why does he do this and not Yoshua? Why doesn't Joshua do this? Why isn't Joshua standing up? Why does Caleb stand up? Later on, we're going to see that the two of them do stand up. We're going to see that Yoshua and Caleb stand up together. But at this point, only Caleb.
The whole congregation, everybody knows the relationship between Joshua and Moshe. Caleb's more powerful because he's coming from the outside.
No doubt about it. No doubt. They know on whose side Yoshua is. That's not going to make an impression on them. But some guy who's not that close tells you to go to Moshe. That makes an impression. So in fact, you have 10 verses 2. And that, of course, is a problem in numbers. But we're going to learn that the numbers does not do the trick. Something else does. But before we do, we've got to answer the problem. Moshe's got a concern about them. He's got to pray to Yeshua. He's got to beg Yeshua for a how do you say it? A special blessing and name change. Caleb's got a problem, so Caleb goes to the patriarchs in Hebron to pray for his own protection. Why wasn't this trip aborted? Why didn't they stop this in the beginning? And how could they say that they went and they came, as if to suggest, like you said, that what? They came back with a bad attitude? They probably went that way. Now this is called in Hebrew a hekesh. Lakish, hey kuf yud shin, means when you have two contradictory words in the same sentence, you put them together, so to speak, and the Torah puts them together, then you can apply one rule to one rule to the other. In the Torah it says, if a man finds disfavor with the woman and he wants to divorce her, he writes her a document of divorce, and then she may go out and marry someone else. That's what it says. And the question is, why do we have to put that second part of the sentence in the same sentence? Make it separate. One's a divorce, one's a marriage. She's free to remarry because she got divorced. But why does the Torah have to say the same thing, the divorce and the remarriage in the same pasuk, in the same sentence? The answer is because it wants to show you that the same way that it was used to divorce is the same way you can use to get married. What was the usage of divorce? A document. We call it a get. In the same way, you can use a document to marry the woman also. You don't have to use a ring. And it's a little different than the document we call ketubah. It's a little different. But whatever it is, you can use it. We don't use it nowadays. We use the ketubah, but it's not the same. But if you wanted to, you could use it. We don't use it now. Nowadays we use money, which is a ring. But but you could use a contract. That's the point. So the same thing here. They went and they came. The same way they came back, which we all know is negative. In the same way they went. That means they had negativity on their minds in the first place. If that's the case, what?
That's why he said, please.
Right, so if that's the case, why does God allow Moshe to do it? Why does Moshe do it? When there's all this concern from the beginning, from the get-go.
Commanded.
Who commanded who? Moshe wasn't commanded. God said to Moshe, saying, send forth men if you please. Shlach lecha, ledatcha. It's your deal. It's for you. It's your deal. Listen, Moshe, there's certain things that, I mean, bosses tell their employees, they say, look, this is the way to get the job done, but if you choose another way to do it, it's by all means, do whatever you please. I just want to get the job done. What do you say?
Well, Hashem was trying to see if the people were ready. He sent the leaders because they're a reflection of the people. And if the 10 leaders aren't ready,
Then the people aren't ready.
Maybe I should.
That's a good point. That's a good thought. Basically, you could say that, but that's more of saying it, that's retroactive. In other words, that's after the fact. After the fact. Well, we can't send out, in fact, in terms of getting the people ready, I would assume that Hashem says, look, I took you out of Egypt, I gave you the Torah.
Yes.
It's time to go to Eretz Yisrael. What do you want to stay in the desert longer? How long do I stay in the desert for? And we're going to learn, by the way, that may have been the mindset of those spies. Maybe they did want to stay in the desert. We'll explain why in a minute. Hold on to that. If I don't say it, remind me. But the point is that there is no question here that there was a problem. And there's no question here that they are, and yet the Torah calls them, take a look at 799, line 3, leaders. Line 4, distinguished. Line 4, heads of the children of Israel were they. Why does the Torah go out of our way to tell you that's so great? When in fact, they came back a bunch of stinkers. Why does the Torah do this? I mean, why does the Torah go out of its way to tell you 3 times how great they are? Distinguished, heads, leaders, great. When in fact, there's all these problems within them. And Moshe, you pick this up, and if you did, why let him go? So Rabbi Block wants to say the following. This is a Blockism. If you like it, you can enjoy it and say it over. If you don't like it, you can disagree with me. It's okay. It's a free country. Well, I'll probably see you later outside, though. But this is my take on it. My take on it is as follows. We talked a little bit about it last week, and we've always talked about it for sure on many occasions. There has to be a realization of the connection between the end of last week's Parsha and the beginning of next. Yes, there is no chronology in the Torah, Ein Mukdam and Mu'achar, but there is at least an ideological, if not chronological, connection between the end of the Parsha and the beginning of the next, so that we can see a continuum of thinking, a continuum of ideas, if you understand. How did the last week's Parsha end? Take a look at it. What happened last week at the end of the Parsha?
The entire nation was affected by the behavior of one person.
And what happened? Just tell me the facts.
So
Just the
Miriam,
facts.
So Moses' sister speaks against an evil
There's a
report.
Lashon Hara story.
Yes.
There's gossip. There's slander. Now, in fact, it wasn't as bad as we want to say. I mean, let's understand. In fact, it's a sister, it's a brother. They mean well. They love each other. There's no intention to harm. There's no intention to say bad. But Miriam is concerned about the fact that her brother's not sleeping with his wife. Why come you not together? She didn't realize that Moshe Rabbeinu had this high level of face-to-face, as we explained a moment ago, and that he could not because he had to maintain a high level of purity. And we probably did not explain the proper attitude of his wife Tzipporah. Tzipporah is an unusual woman. An unusual woman. I wanted to say about Tzipporah that she was unusual in the sense of a high level of righteousness. And she adopted upon herself a mindset attitude that a woman will do when she's about to marry someone of greatness. I may have mentioned this last week. When they say about when I was about 16, they assassinated John Kennedy here in America, President Kennedy. And it was a very sad time, and the whole country was weeping. It was an amazing thing. And they interviewed Jackie Kennedy, his widow, maybe 4 months later, and she said, it was probably foolhardy for me to believe when I married my husband that we'd grow old together. Amazing statement. A very profound statement of a woman who understands the sacrifice that she's prepared to make to marry a great man, who in fact may not give her the kind of time that she would like, or other women are getting from their husbands. Because my husband doesn't belong to me. He belongs to the people. He belongs to God, so to speak. And Tzipporah probably knew this going into the game. So they had 2 children, and then Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Mount Sinai, received the Torah, and the 10 Commandments, and the statements, and so forth, the tablets, and that was the same after that. The holiness as he walked down from the mountain was spread over his face in a golden glow. People were afraid to look at him. And so she understood that they were separate. Miriam didn't understand that. Miriam fights up for her sister-in-law. And she talks to Aaron, why is this happening? And of course, Hashem corrects them, says you're making a big mistake, you don't understand the situation, Moshe Rabbeinu, it's different than yours, different than everybody else's, but understand that you did speak out against someone, truthfully or untruthfully, knowingly or unknowingly, you said slander. However meaningful, however you meant it to be true, and you meant it to be for help, and you didn't do it out of hate or spite. Nevertheless, that is slander, you have to be punished. And she was punished with 7 days out of the camp. Why is she punished? Because, why 7 days? Because 7 days are the days you mourn for the dead. She's dead for 7 days. That's out of the camp means when you're away from everybody else, you don't belong with people, you're dead. Our lives intertwined with people. Be alone, go up a mountain and be a hermit, go to Dalai Lama, he's dead, you can be dead too. it's just that you gotta be integrated. So Moshe Rabbeinu, I should say Miriam is punished, and the people are watching this event occur. The travel to Eretz Israel has been delayed 7 days for Miriam. Miriam is a great woman. She deserves us to wait for her. So in her humiliation and punishment, we see her greatness at the same time. We wait for her. We don't move without her. All of a sudden, we find out, and I haven't got the time now, it'd be fascinating to watch, but we're out of time, that this occurred on the same day that the people asked to send out spies. And we know that the people asked Moshe, not Moshe, not God. How do we know this? Because later on in the book of Devarim, in the 5th book of the Torah, we're going to learn that Moshe Rabbeinu himself tells, in fact, you want to see it, I can show it to you real quick. Take a look at page, at the beginning of Devarim, of the 5th book of the Torah, take a look at page 944. Verse 22. All of you approached me, says Moshe. He's recalling the past now. Because that's what he does in this book, of the 5th book of the Torah. He reviews the past. All of you approached me at that time and said to me, let us send men ahead of us that they spy out the land, bring word back to us, the road on which we should ascend to the cities in which we should come. 23, the idea was good in my eyes. So I took 12, one man for each tribe. 24, they turned, ascended the mountain, came to the valley of Eshcol, spied it out. 25, they took in their hands the fruit of the land. Exactly what took place, right? And brought it down to us, and they brought back the word to us, and that's as good as the land that God has given you. 26, but you didn't wish to ascend, and you rebelled against the word of Hashem your God, and you slandered in your tents. Because of Hashem's hatred for us, that he takes us out of the land of Egypt. He doesn't like us at all. This is Moshe Rabbeinu recalling the story. He says, who came up with this idea of sending the 12 spies? It was the people. That's what it says here. You approached me and said, let us send men ahead of us. The idea was good in my eyes. God said, Shlach lecha, if you please. So, in a sense, what's happening is on the very same day that Miriam returns to the camp from our 7-day exile, and we're ready to go into Israel, ready to go right now. The people say, let's wait a few days. Let's not go right away. Let's send some spies first, figure it out. Come back and tell us what to do. So what you have here is a situation where you have a delay. The delay was 40 days. Now, according to the calendar, again, I haven't got the time to show it to you, but if you walk, I can show it to you maybe next week. The calendar shows clearly from the different psukim, everything's got to be proven from what it says inside. You can't make anything up here. The calendar proves clearly that the day they left for the spying was the 29th day of Sivan. And 40 days later they returned, after Sivan was over, through Tammuz, to the Chodesh Av, the 9th day of Av. The Tisha B'Av was the day they returned. Now, at this point in time, we've got to figure, why did Moshe let this happen? So we understand the following. Let's understand that the spies and everybody in Israel saw Miriam return. They all saw the devastating behavior and result of the behavior of slander of Lashon Hara. They all saw it. Rashi says they saw it. The same day. Let's go spy. And here's the problem. These men were great. Absolutely, the Torah says it. They were respectable and wonderful and powerful and leaders. But there was something missing inside that you could not tell on the outside. They looked good. They looked God-fearing, appeared God-fearing. But don't be fooled. Make sure you see not just the chitzoniyut of the person, but the pinimiyut of the person. Not just the outside, the way he looks, but the way his inside. How can you really tell the inside? You can't, really. But I'll tell you this. One thing was for sure. retroactively we can say that they saw an event that they should have learned a lesson from, and they didn't. And that's really the problem. In other words, when you are faced with a situation where you can learn something and then internalize it within you to make a change, and you don't, you're oblivious, you're ignoring, it doesn't affect me or impact me or bother me or whatever. Didn't you learn anything? Didn't you learn anything with the fact that Miriam was away for 7 days? Didn't you see something that touched you? If you had, you would have never returned with evil report and lashon hara against Israel. The fact that you did proves you never learned a thing. The very same day that Miriam comes back, don't you pick that up? Where's your head? What are you thinking? Don't you see it? It's obvious. And you don't pick that up. And you go on your own merry way to Israel, so to speak. What's the matter with you? That's their problem. And that you couldn't pick up. There's concerns, there's worries, they see something's goofy. But they have to let it go because the process of how life continues must go through the normative channels of the way life continues. And if it messes up, tragically it messes up. But you can't abort or change reality. These are great leaders who look great enough, but the suspicion. Have you ever had a situation where you really see someone, a really good person, a wonderful person, and then you have this little, ever so slight, a drop of concern or a drop of suspicion. In Hebrew we call it kapdeu, respect and suspect. Watch out. Guy's smiling at you. He's a salesman. He sells you, oh, it's a wonderful chair. You gotta buy this chair. 2 for 1. What do you say? Right? I could have been a good salesman. Step right up. Let me tell you what I'm gonna do for you. I should have sold cars. Think about it. Watch out for those guys. Right, that's right. So obviously Moshe is concerned, but he says, maybe they will be a turn out all right. They seem a little funny. They seem as if they didn't really internalize the message, but you know what? Maybe they did. You can't all of a sudden judge a person off the top. But I'm going to save Yoshua just in case, a precaution. Kalev sees the same problem. I got to protect myself. These guys can go goofy on me. Maybe they won't. Maybe they will. I don't know. But I got to be careful. He goes to Hebron, asks Rabbi and Jacob to pray for him, right? So now they come back, and they bring back the fruits. Why do they bring back the fruits? Because l'sheker ein raglayim. Lies have no feet. You see, a lie cannot stand by itself. You tell a guy an out-and-out lie. I'll go back to the people and say, Israel's terrible, don't go. Who's going to listen to that? Well, you're a bunch of idiots. Someone will listen to you. But if they come back and they got this, well, let me tell you, Israel's really wonderful. It's really fine. It got beautiful fruits, and this, that, and that. But then people pay attention. You've seen that happen a million times, right? People will try to get you to believe something bad, but first they say, let me tell you, I'm really objective. I have no axe to grind here. I really, really am objective. It's a beautiful land, wonderful fruits, but we can't fight them. They're too big and too strong. So they become more believable. They become more credible. Is that right? Okay. So now, what the spies are saying is like this. The spies themselves feel totally inadequate. They don't want to go to Israel. They have this agenda. They don't want to go. And they don't want the people to go. And they feel that these people are way too strong and impossible. So they say this evil report about Israel. What is the evil report? The evil report is not the fact that, and here you come in, Josh. It's not because, Yoshua. Here's where he comes in. It's not because of the fact that they said the land is filled with giants. It's truth. But when they said we cannot ascend, who asked you? What's your axe to grind? What's your agenda? What's your business here? I didn't ask you to tell me to come back to whether we should go in or not go in. I asked you to just report on the land. Give me a report. The moment you ask someone, anyone, about a report about something, and he comes back. You asked me about so-and-so. Should I hire him? Should I befriend him? Whatever you ask about this guy. I can come back and tell you, I can point to the fact that at this point he was dishonest. At that point he was dishonest. But I cannot tell you he's a thief. Do you get the point? I can tell you he did bad here, he did bad there. But I can't call him bad. I can't make that judgment call. In fact, this is taught to us by psychologists when you teach children. You want to teach a child, you can never tell a child he's bad. You can tell a child you did bad. But you can never make that judgment. Frankly, we're not allowed to do that in anybody's life. Because why? Because we're not God. I can see you did a wrong thing. That doesn't make you a bum. Who's going to judge whether or not you're a bum? That's Hashem's job. I can't judge, I'm human. So therefore, when they said we can't fight, they took the place of God. How do you know? Maybe you'll walk in there and nuke them and win. Whatever. Point is that everybody said it was impossible for the Jewish people to fight off the Arabs in 1948 and 1967. We did it. But you got to have the sense of belief that that you can. Hashem's with you. What was the problem with these maraglim? Why didn't why did they want to go? Because the maraglim felt that the land of Israel was an experience in having to go into Israel and getting in touch with the land. And the land means what? Tilling the soil, seeding, plowing, growing, developing food, and having to put on your table what you've planted and seeded. Not in the desert. In the desert we got the manna from heaven. We got everything from heaven. Not min haaretz, min hashamayim. That motzi lechem min hashamayim, not motzi lechem min haaretz. You understand? So they said, look, we're closer to God out here. We go to Israel, we'll start getting involved with the land, with this and that, and we won't have Hashem with us so much. Of course, they're foolish because Hashem wants us to be real in the world, to live. You're supposed to get a job. You're supposed to till the soil. You're supposed to work hard. You can't live a life where everything's coming from heaven. That's one time in the world when we came from out of Egypt and we were unable and we needed Hashem to survive. We needed Hashem's bracha. Hashem says the one from the heavens, and we're able to survive. But that's not a continued human existence. That's a one-time deal. We're all beneficial of different miracles at different times. But you can't have a constant life of miracles every minute. You gotta live through the normative. And when you live through the normative, you see God there. And when you see God there, what are you learning? That the normative is a miracle too. How many people would like to go back in time and see God create the world? Wow! How much you pay me? You can do it. Get up tomorrow morning at about 5 o'clock, 5:15, and watch the sun rise. And let there be light, and there was light creation. And I'm an eyewitness to God creating the world every single day. Every day I see God create the world. There is God's miracle in our reality that we take for granted. We have to live within a reality. But the reality is Hashem. The maraglim couldn't see that. These spies saw only one thing, that this is the world which we bought. You know what they wanted to do? Spies wanted to stay inside the womb. They didn't want to come out to the world. I like it in here. It's warm, it's nourishing, it's sweet, it's protected. I got no problems. I don't want to go into the next world. I don't want to go into this world. Come out. Well, so why do you think the baby cries when he comes out? Because he didn't come out willingly. Came out reluctantly. I don't want to be here. You don't want to be here. I gotta get up and go to school, and I gotta learn a trade, and I gotta go to work, and life's it was so much nicer in the womb. It was delicious and protected and warm. Living in the desert was like living in the womb. Yeah.
And wasn't that also during the time of Eden with Adam and Eve?
Well, it's not completely comparable. There is some similarities, but the idea of Adam's sin was not necessarily in the same vein. What?
Prior to his sin, he was actually alive.
Oh yeah. Life was, but still had a problem. In other words, he had a challenge, let's put it that way. Adam and Chava lived in the Garden of Eden. And you'd give me $1 million to live there. And even there's a challenge. Don't eat from that tree. Life has its challenges. Life has its disciplines. Life has its demands. Unless you want to go back to the womb. Which got nothing. Right? But in 9 months, mommy kicks you out. Understand? So the point is that the maraglim didn't understand that. And the maraglim, entitled to their opinion, felt that they'd become probably more godly, or stay more godly in this Garden of Eden called the desert with the man coming from heaven. But the mistake was, you see, is that, okay, you're entitled to your opinion. Consult your Rebbe, see what your Rebbe has to say on the matter. Talk to Moshe Rabbeinu. But they didn't do that. They instead not only were so sure of their own position, that they even resorted to low, below the table behavior to push their agenda. And they made the sound of these giants and these people that live in the Quran sound so bad. It was as beautifully as I had described the fruit. That's horribly described these people. They're too frightened. They're too numerous. They're too powerful. They're giants. We're grasshoppers. We can't do this. Who asked you? That's a judgment call. And don't try and impose your inferiority upon me. Caleb says we can do this. Joshua says we can do this. Moshe Rabbeinu says we can do this. But the people didn't do what the people do. What was the reaction? Here's the key. Look at the reaction of the people. People's reaction is on page 803, chapter 14, national hysteria. See the little thing on the side where it says, you ever see the little thing on the side where it says national hysteria? Always look at that. Get a picture of what's going on. The people, the entire assembly raised up and issued its voice, and the people wept that night. What night? That night. When you call it that night, that's a night that will live in infamy and history forever. That night. What night? The night of weeping, the night of crying. Says Rashi, you cry for nothing. I'll give you what to cry about. And this is what becomes a day of tragedy forever and ever and ever and ever in Jewish history. And the first base of English is destroyed, and the second base of English is destroyed, the Beitar is destroyed. The Spanish Inquisition of 1492.
So what was the Beitar shortly?
What?
300 people.
Yeah, the remains of Beitar were destroyed on Tisha B'Av. And the liquidation of the Warsaw Ghetto in Europe in 1943 by the Nazis was on Tisha B'Av. It's frightening.
There's actually a British expulsion of the Jews in 12 something.
Okay, whatever. But, right. Tisha B'Av is, but it came all from here. But here's the point, folks. Here's the point. The people fell into the trap of these horrible salesmen. These horrible people who sold them a lie. Slandered Eretz Yisrael, slandered Hashem, said Lashon Hara about everybody, including Moshe and the rest of them. And the question is, how were they so successful? So you'll tell me, I know what your answer is. You're going to tell me, well, 10 verses 2, what are you going to listen to? You'll listen to 10, right? And I tell you, numbers have nothing to do with it. You know why they listen to the 10 instead of 2? Had it been 9 verses 3, we would have listened to the 3. But because it was 10 verses 2, 10 against 2, we listened to the 10. Because what's 10?
Minion.
10's a minion. 10 has the power. What's the power of 10? 10 can gather together and make a minion in shul and say Kadosh, 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 holy is Hashem, and make a Kiddush Hashem, a holiness of God's name. The same 10 can do the exact opposite. Make a Chilul Hashem, a disgrace of Hashem's name. When 10 people say something, it carries with it an impact. 9 don't. So I always tell them everybody the famous story of my father, bless him, every father used to say, 9 rabbis don't make a minion. 10 Jewish truck drivers do. Think of that. Look what it says here. Look what it says here. It says here that 805. Joshua and Caleb tore their garments. Top of the page. They spoke to the people. The land is good that we passed through. The land is very good. Hashem desires He will bring us the land. Give us to a land that flows with milk and honey. Do not rebel against Hashem. Do not fear the people of the land, for they are our bread. We're going to eat them up. We're going to eat them up. They are our bread. In the Hebrew, it's Ki lachmeinu hey. We're going to eat these enemies up and spit them out. Sor tzila me'alehem. There is no shadow or cover for them. Vashem itanu al tirohum. Hashem is with us. Don't be afraid. And of course, the people responded by not listening to them. And so, what you have here is one of the most tragic stories of all time. Because Hashem punished us with 1 year for 1 day. 40 days, 40 years. And we're going to have to wander for 40 years in the desert. And all those over 20 will die. And the way they did it was that every year on Tisha B'Av, on the night of Av, they would dig graves, and everyone would sleep next to the grave. Those who woke up in the morning put those who didn't into the grave, and that's how they died for 40 years, until the Jews had completely forgiven from Hashem, and were ready to march into Eretz Israel. Look what occurred out of this tragedy. Let's understand that this is almost a worse crime than the golden calf itself. But look at this. Take a look at where Hashem says, what it says over here? Look at the 805, 805, verse 11. Hashem tells Moshe, how long will these people provoke me? How long will they not have faith in me? All the signs I've performed in their midst, how will this happen? I will smite them with the plague. Moshe then begs Hashem for forgiveness, and He forgives them. But He will punish these maraglim, and He will punish the people themselves for listening to Lashon Hara, which is just as bad as, if not worse than, saying it. Therefore, 40 years in the desert, 40 years, everybody over 20 dies. Take a look here at 807, where it says in 807, verse 20, Hashem said to Moshe, I forgive the people for your words, but as I live in the glory of Hashem will fill the world of the men who have seen my glory and my signs, and I performed in Egypt and the wilderness, have tested in me those 10 times, have not heeded my voice. What are those 10 times?
Exactly.
What are those 10 times? Says the Mishnah and the Ethics of the Fathers. If you look through the Torah, from the time of the golden calf, and even before that, during the time that the people left Mitzrayim until now, they have challenged God 10 different times. Okay, somebody tell me some of those times. We all know the golden calf was one. Any other challenge you can think of? Any other time that the people displayed lack of faith in Hashem during that period of time?
They want the water.
They want water. They need food. They're upset with this. They want meat. How about, we're at the sea. The Egyptians are coming. The sea. What are we going to do? And Hashem splits the sea. Every time you turn around, there's another complaint. Every time you turn around, there's another anger. There's another lack of appreciation for what Hashem has done for you. He's done so much. And what? You still don't think He can do the job. 10 times. Why 10? 10 fingers, 10 toes, 10 commandments. 10. Look at the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, chapter 5, Parak 8, the beginning. All the 10s that exist in the world. 10 plagues! Because 10 is what gets the job done. You need a million, you need 10. Without it, you got without it. The Egyptians would not have let the Jews go with 9 plagues. It's 10, it's got to do it. Chas v'sholom, if you lose a finger, you'll see that it's a little difficult to maneuver. You need all 10 of them. You understand? And you need your 10 toes too. That's how Hashem created the world. 10 is that magic number. And 10 is the number of the apex, the top. You can't get better than 10. Hashem forgives and forgives and forgives and forgives. This is the 10th time. That's it. No more forgiveness. Yes, I will not exterminate the people because Moshe begged. And Moshe, Hashem is beholden to. Hashem owes Moshe Rabbeinu. Can you imagine? That's how great Moshe Rabbeinu was, that he can persuade Hashem. How powerful is that man? We're alive. Is that him? But understand that the people will have to wander 40 years, and those over 20 will die. And the oldest person to go into Eretz Yisrael at the end of 40 years will be how old? 59. You get the math? 59. Because anyone over 20 is going to die. So the youngest person that's going to stay alive, the oldest person that's 19. Therefore, 40 years later, it's going to be 59. The youngest person in there is 59. Says the Torah, there's only 2 exceptions to the rule. Who are the 2 exceptions to the rule? Say it again. What about Moshe himself? He won't make it. And here's the key. The key is to understand that Moshe Rabbeinu knew that sending out the spies could end up with him not bringing the people into Eretz Israel. He knew that, and he took that chance. The idea is, of course, is that Moshe Rabbeinu is caught up and swept up in the problem. Because the problem is a national problem. So we talked about it 2 weeks ago. If you're amongst the problem, then whether you're good or not doesn't matter. You get swept up into it. If you hang up with good people, you get swept up with good. Hang up with bad people, and you get swept up with bad. The fact of the matter is the people are all nationally problematic. They're all nationally evil at this point. They're all mistrusting God. That's the case. Even Moshe Rabbeinu, who fights to save the people, who finally stops the people from believing in this matter, finally begs Hashem for forgiveness, he's swept into the problem too. Sometimes you have no choice. You gotta sacrifice your life. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu did. He sacrificed his life for his people. The bottom line is that there is a limit to how far you can push. And there's a limit to how much you can succeed. The limit is 10. 10 spies, kill us. 10 times you challenge Hashem, done. And so that's why we understand this story as being the most tragic of all times. And the story that gave birth to Tisha B'Av, and gave birth to the destruction of the temple, and gave birth to all the tragedies of our history, and of the future after that. Still, the point was that when the maraglim went out, they looked good, they looked fine, and their tie was just right, and their suit was just right. But deep down inside, there was something that was problematic. There was something inside that's what we all have to check ourselves. I know we all try to do the right thing, but are we thinking the right way? Are our thoughts sincere, true, and honest? And are we open-minded to learning lessons from all situations? When you see Miriam return after a 7-day exile, did you get that message? Did you internalize that message? Yes, I know what you're going to do. You're going to go to Eretz Israel, and you're going to have all these negative feelings, and you're going to have all these your own agendas. Maybe you don't want to go to Eretz Israel, and your fears that the people are giants or grasshoppers. But who told you to express it? You should have known that you can't express it. You should have known that from Miriam, and you didn't internalize it. Says Rashi, for that you are a Russia. Shaim. Those are evil people. People who don't learn lessons that are right in front of your face. Like you said, fool me once, don't fool me twice. You don't learn a lesson. You didn't pick it up. Parsha. That's a pretty hard term. We're talking a moment ago about these great leaders, and they're at the same time Rishaim. And that's humanly possible. You can have a man who's a great leader, and who's has great qualities and virtues, and looks good, and sounds good, and deep down is a Russia. can't be. And that's what these spies were. And that's why Moshe had to take the precaution. And that's why Moshe had to let it go through. Hopefully, maybe they'll do tshuva. Maybe even if they come back with a negative attitude, with the same negative attitude they went, at least they won't express it. And even if they do express it, don't come to a judgment. Don't slander the land and say we can't do it. Simply give me the facts and shut your mouth after that. And they didn't do that. And that's Lashon Hara. And that's the Lashon Hara that kills. Whenever people ask you for a piece of information, you are allowed to say what you know, but do not make a claim on it or come to a conclusion on it. That's Lashon Hara. You feel someone is being dishonest, you have a right to tell them. I would be cautious of this person. He's dishonest, but you can't say he's a thief. You can't call him a thief. And that's the bottom line of the lesson of the maraglim. Okay, so this was a very, very, very challenging Parsha. Appreciate all you came. How many people did not? That's a good one for you. How many people did not sign up? If you didn't, then sign in, please.